And I was almost afraid. No, I was definitely afraid to ask these questions because I'm afraid that people are going to judge me. They're going to look at me like, well, you're a traveling nurse, so you should know this and that and this and that. But no, because two things can happen at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time. And the fact that I'm a traveling nurse with questions can exist at the same time. And so knowing this, I can confidently step into my power when I ask questions and I want to know more. I want to welcome you to Raw Honey. I want to ask you, is life working out for you the way that you want it to? Are you claiming your birthright by living a life that's fulfilling, happy, and peaceful? Because let me remind you, that is exactly what you deserve. You get to choose the perspectives that will work for you, that will help you into creating the life of your dreams. So thank you so much for allowing me to share my thoughts, to be real, raw, and vulnerable with you. I really cannot wait to dive into this week's topic. So what are you waiting for? Let's go. Guys, what's up? Thank you so much for joining me for episode 8. I am so excited to talk to you about how we as humans have tendencies to try to box things in, and we have the tendency to see things as either or, black or white, up or down. We see things as 0 or 100. Two things can definitely simultaneously exist at the same time, and I had to learn that just last year. So I have always considered myself to be a very open-minded person. I like to consider the in-betweens, but I didn't realize that I was placing a lot of things in absolute categories. It was either this or that for me, and I couldn't actually think of the in-betweens, and the fact that maybe both can exist at the same time, and that there are numbers other than 0 or 100, right? Consider all those numbers in between and all the decimals, right? There are other colors in between black and white. There's gray. There's all sorts of colors in the rainbow, meaning there are so many different ways to look at things, and there's so many freaking perspectives out in life. Why are we sitting here boxing ourselves in and boxing other people in to these categories? Okay, we are seriously just creating a lot of stress for ourselves when we do that, because when things don't go our way, we get frustrated, we get disappointed, right? But if we didn't have these labels in the first place, then perhaps we wouldn't be so stressed when things don't come out our way, because rarely, honestly, is anything ever absolute. I know my mind, okay, plays tricks on me, and it's got me wanting to feel comfortable. So feeling comfortable means boxing things in, right? It's just so easier. It's just so much easier to process things when you're like, oh, all like nerds are this way. Teachers are supposed to be like this. Nurses are supposed to be like this. Doctors are supposed to be like this. Accountants are supposed to be like this. Gamers are supposed to be like this. Moms are supposed to be like this. Dads are supposed to be like this. A professional is supposed to be like this. A trusted brand is supposed to be like this. Yada, yada, yada. These are all man-mades, okay? And you catch yourself honestly expecting certain roles and certain labels to be a certain way. But let me remind you that two things can definitely simultaneously occur at the same time. For example, you can be a professional and still ask questions. Shocker, I know. Have you ever heard of the imposter syndrome? It's when people who are professionals, who've had 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, who are literally masters at what they do, they still feel like an imposter. Still feel like they don't know all that much. They still have questions. But who says both cannot exist at the same time? I can be a professional, but I can still have questions. I am a traveling nurse of about 5 years, and I learned really quickly that I can be a traveling nurse. And as a traveling nurse, they do expect me to know a little bit more, have more experience under my belt. But I'm not going to put that pressure on myself and tell myself that I got to know everything, because that is putting unnecessary stress and expectations on myself. So in the beginning of travel nursing, I used to kind of beat myself up like, oh, I actually need to ask questions about these chest tubes. and yada yada. And I was almost afraid. No, I was definitely afraid to ask these questions because I'm afraid that people are going to judge me. They're going to look at me like, well, you're a traveling nurse, so you should know this and that and this and that. But no, because two things can happen at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time. And the fact that I'm a traveling nurse with questions can exist at the same time. And so knowing this, I can confidently step into my power when I ask questions and I want to know more, right? Because I know that I'm not a bad nurse just because I have questions, okay? We don't have to be so absolute. Okay, this is a really really big one and I learned this from Oprah. And I know that if Oprah struggled with this, oh my gosh, a lot of us must also struggle with this. It's the fact that you can be generous and you can not give all the time. You cannot give money, your time, whatever, your energy if you don't want to, right? So, just because you're generous, it doesn't mean that you have to give yourself all the time. Just because you don't give yourself all the time, it doesn't mean that you're not generous, okay? Just because someone is slow to text you, it does not mean that they're not interested in you anymore. Okay, they can be slow to text you and be interested in you at the same damn time. See how many of us stress ourselves out by thinking, yo, if he likes me, if she likes me, then she should like be on top of texting. She should be like, all on my nuts, right? Or yeah, he should be like da da da. It's been an hour. It's been 2 hours. He hasn't texted me. He must not be interested in me. He must be messing around. Yo, what? Wait, what? There are so many other things that can happen, right? For him to not, or for her not to answer you right away. It doesn't have to be so absolute. So knowing that, you're less stressed. You're not disappointed, right? You're actually calm and at peace, doing your thing, knowing that anything could be going on right now. And but then how many of us like get so mad and anxious while we're waiting for the text and then when they text us back we're like, "Oh, yeah. Wait, everything is fine." But had we only believed that everything was fine before, like, instead of freaking out, yo, that could have been like such a peaceful time right there that was instead filled with stress and it's just not necessary, okay? Ooh, this is a big one for people who place such importance on whether or not someone says hi to them while they walk by. People can get offended when they walk by someone, they say hi and that person doesn't say hi back. Well, the automatic conclusion or assumption could be they got something against me or they don't like me or whatever, when honestly it could be so many other things, right? They could not have said hi to you because they didn't hear you, because they didn't notice you, because they were thinking of something in their head that happened this morning, that's going on with their family, that's just so overwhelming that they honestly did not pay attention to you because they were just so absorbed within themselves, causing them to have missed your high or even missed seeing you or noticing you at all. But that has got nothing to do with you. But you see how it's easy for us to kind of like think so absolutely. It's either that or this. So for the people with issue setting boundaries, you can be kind and still say no. I know it sounds so scary, right? But let me repeat this. You can be kind and still say no. I know it's weird. It's like, oh, I want to be kind. I want to be known as kind. So I have to say yes all the time. Who says? You can be loving and still say no. Who says in order for you to be loving, you got to say yes all the time? Nobody. Stop putting these unnecessary labels on yourself and stop putting it on other people. Okay? Then you start judging people for not showing up a certain way when really it's just your expectations. Everybody, and this is truly what I believe from the bottom of my heart, everybody wants to live a free and happy life. Everybody wants to be given the freedom to be who they want to be. So when you box yourself in, you are completely limiting yourself, and I doubt that you are truly, truly happy with what's going on. Okay. And then there comes that pressure of other people boxing you in and expecting certain things from you just because. you're a girl, just because you're a boy, just because you're a mother, etc., etc., right? When really you can just live by your truth. And sometimes your truth remains in a number between 0 and 100. Sometimes your truth remains in a color other than black or white. Sometimes your truth falls in a direction other than left or right, and it is okay. And it is okay. I just want you to know it is okay for you to believe in something that is not absolute. It does not make you a bad person. If anything, it makes you such an open minded person and a very courageous person at that. Okay. It was only last year that I learned that I was actually being very close minded and I was stressing myself out more than I ever should have by believing that things gotta be this way or that way. I felt like being a good friend meant that I had to do all this. Well, who says I can't be a good friend and still honor my boundary and do it if I want to, but or just like, like limit it down or whatever. The more you learn to trust yourself and honor your likes, your wants, your needs, the easier this becomes. But just be aware of all the times that you're so absolute and ask yourself, wait a minute, does it have to be so absolute right now? Or is there actually something else in between that can also be true? Because again, rarely is anything absolute. So I just kind of want to leave you guys with that. I don't want my podcast to be like super long. I kind of just want to hit all the points and GTFO. Okay. So thank you so much for joining me for episode 8. Yo, we're so close to episode 10, but please join me for episode 9. And I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing rest of your day or rest of your night, wherever you're tuning from. I love you from the bottom of my heart. I really love you, and I want the absolute best for all of you. And if we can choose healthier perspectives to help our lives, yo, that's it. That's literally it. And guess what? You are the creator of your own life. You get to choose whatever the you want that will work for you. Don't let anybody tell you that you have to be any certain way, because you get to choose what that looks like and what that means to you. Mwah. See ya.